What's up, fellow humans of the universe? I'm Ethan, a professional filmmaker, and this is the third video in my Filmmaking 101 series where we're going to cover all the basics of making movie magic. Heads up, this video, like all the videos in my Filmmaking 101 series, is timestamped, so click on the thingy thing down there anytime you want to skip to a certain section of the video. Okay, let's get into it. Editing is maybe the most underrated part of filmmaking. An editor has to know not only how, but when to cut. It's more a feeling than a science, and depending on what you're going for, you can transition from shot to shot in countless ways. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have mastered the art of the cut, like this lady. Let's get started with number 1, the standard cut, where we swap from one thing to another. It's simple and doesn't call attention to itself, making it great when we want the audience focused on something else, like the dialogue within the scene. But simple doesn't always mean easy. Finding the right frame to cut on can be harder than it looks. It's about knowing how long you want the audience to feel the gaze of an actor, to make sure we really feel the emotion of joy or happiness or terror. It depends. Before we go on to the next one, let's mention action cuts and mid-scene cross cuts. These are both exactly what they sound like. They're normal cuts, except they're a cut that happens right when an action occurs, or in the case of a cross cut, we're cutting back and forth between two scenes, often occurring simultaneously. Now, number 2, the jump cut. The easiest to make and often used to show a passage of time. It's a staple in montages, and it's used many times to cut on an audio cue. Speaking of which, let's go into number 3, J&L cuts, which are moments where we don't immediately cut our visuals and audio at the same time. Instead, we'll stagger them. In a J cut, we'll let the audio of the next scene play before we cut to the scene visually, like this. In an editing program, it'll look something like this, the purple bar being the visuals and the green bar being the audio. And the opposite of this is the L cut, where the audio of the next scene takes a second or two before coming in. On to number 4, the match cut. This is great to use when you're cutting from one thing to something else that's similar. It gives the scenes a sense of fluidity and connectivity. There are also audio match cuts, and using these can show how cultured and mature you are, because filmmaking is a serious and sophisticated art form.
Privates! We have reports of an unidentified flying object! It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with 2 balls!
On the other hand, number 5, the smash cut, is kind of the opposite. Instead of being a fluid transition from one shot to another, it's an abrupt change. These can be great both for dramatic and comedic effect. Okay, number 6, the whip cut. Remember pans and tilts from our last video? This is basically those, except faster, and the speedy blur hides the transition. Now let's look at number 7, dissolves. These are much less abrupt than a typical hard cut and also give the audience the feeling that time is passing, so they can be great for transitions anytime you want to change things like time of day. Number 8, fades. Both in and out, black and white. These can be great when you don't want to cut immediately into another shot. They're also commonly used when a character gets knocked unconscious or blinded. And like dissolves can be useful as a tool to change time from one shot to the next. Number 9, wipes and everything in between. These types of stylish cuts are a bit more in the audience's face, calling attention to themselves, unlike other cuts that are more invisible. These are used extensively in Star Wars. You could say the transitions are out of this world. I am so sorry. And there are other wacky cuts like pinwheels, spirals, and more, but most of them fall into one of the categories above. Our next few videos are going to take a look at writing, audio, and mise en scène in film. And if that's not a term you're familiar with, stick around, stay tuned, because we're dropping videos every single week helping you master storytelling. Until next time, peace. These can be great for words. One series is times. Thanks, Train. If you're not familiar with that term, stay tuned.